You have never lost an argument in the first answer, not once. Every position you have surrendered in your working life, you surrendered in the second one. Think about how that actually goes. You say the thing, it is clear, it is reasonable, and it is finished. And then there is a pause, and the pause has a shape you do not like. And something in you decides that the pause means it did not land. So you say it again, slightly longer and slightly warmer, with one more reason attached to make it easier to accept. And in that moment, without anybody firing a shot, you moved from a man who had decided to a man who was asking. Nobody argued you out of your position. You walked out of it yourself, holding the door for whoever wanted to come through. Last week you learned that you leak in the 4 seconds before you react, and that a small number of people in every room are reading it. Good, but there is one leak that is not 4 seconds long and is not involuntary at all. You choose it, you sit down, you compose it, and you send it, and it costs you more than all 6 of the others put together. So let me say the thing this niche will not say, because I think it has done real damage. You have been told, endlessly, by every channel in this corner of the internet, that powerful men never explain themselves. That explaining is weakness, that the strong man simply acts, that you should stop justifying anything to anyone. I think that advice has made a lot of men worse, and I want to be specific about why. A man who refuses to explain anything is not formidable. He is difficult to work with, and everybody around him quietly roots around him, and he never finds out, because nobody explains that to him either. Explanation is not weakness. Explanation is how adults coordinate. The first one is normal and necessary, and costs you nothing. The rule is not never explain. The rule is never explain twice, because the first answer and the second answer are not the same object. They look identical. They often contain the same words, and they do completely different things. The first answer is information. The second answer is a negotiation you opened yourself, and it is the one everybody at the table was waiting to see whether you would give. This is the first law of that, and I will name the cost now. Holding to one answer will make you feel, in the first few weeks, like a man who is being unreasonable. That feeling is very strong, and it is almost entirely wrong, and there is a moment around the third case in this video where you are going to resist hard. Stay for it. There is also a note I am going to show you before this is over. In February 1862, an American general received a request to negotiate terms from a man who had once given him money when he had none. He wrote back in 3 sentences and never wrote again. What happened next is the cleanest demonstration of this law that exists, and it is not what you think, because the warm part of the story comes after the cold part. Machiavelli wrote in the 19th chapter that a ruler must above all avoid being thought changeable, and that the way he does it is by conducting himself so that his judgments are treated as irrevocable. Not harsh, not final in the sense of cruel, simply not reopened. He understood that the danger is not making an unpopular decision. The danger is making a decision that other people believe is available for a second conversation, because a decision that can be reopened is not a decision. It is an opening bid. Before we start, 4 words in the comments. I say it once, type it, and then keep it somewhere. In about 3 days, you are going to be sitting with your thumb over a message that should not be sent, and 4 words is roughly the right length for something a man needs to remember at speed. Here is the mechanism, and it is worth slowing down for, because almost nobody separates these 2 things. When you answer once, you have described reality. This is the situation. This is my position. Here is the reason. The other person now has information. They can accept it, dislike it, or work around it, but the thing itself is settled, and their opinion of it does not change what it is. When you answer a second time, You have done something entirely different. You have signaled that the first one was insufficient, and you are the one who decided that. Nobody told you the first answer failed. You inferred it, usually from silence or from an expression, and then you acted on your own inference by supplying more. And here is what the other person actually receives, which is not clarity, but a price signal. They learn that your position produces additional material under pressure, and that the pressure required to produce it is very small. It is not even pressure, it is a pause. Watch what this buys a man over 10 years. There is somebody senior in your organization whose answers are strangely short. He says the thing, and then he stops. And if you push, he says a version of the same thing that is shorter rather than longer. It is mildly infuriating. And you will notice, if you watch how the building treats him, that people prepare before they go to him. They arrive with their argument already made, because they have learned that there is no second pass, and a man who gets no second pass has to bring his best on the first one. He did not build that with charisma. He built it by never once supplying a second answer over a very long time, until everybody stopped expecting one. Now watch the opposite, which is you. Your answers produce more answers. So people bring you the half-formed version of things, because why would they finish it themselves when the process of pushing on you finishes it for them? You have been doing other people's thinking for years, and you have been doing it in your own time, and you called it being helpful. And here is the turn, and it explains why the advice you have been given has never worked. You have tried this before. You have decided to stop over-explaining, and what you actually did was try to make your first answer so complete, so airtight, so thoroughly reasoned that no second one would be needed. Which is the most common failure in this whole area, and it is worth naming clearly. A longer first answer does not prevent the second answer, it guarantees it. Because a long first answer contains more surfaces, and a surface is a thing to push on. And the moment somebody pushes on one of your 7 reasons, you are defending that reason rather than your position. You built the second conversation into the first message. The law is not answer better. The law is answer once, and short and then hold. Short is not a style preference. A short answer has nothing to grip. That is the whole reframe. You have been trying to win the argument in advance, and you cannot. What you can do is make the argument expensive to start, and length is what makes it cheap. So here are the 5 ways men give the second answer. They are not variations on one thing. Each one has a different trigger and a different cost. And most men do 2 or 3 of them habitually and have never noticed a single one. I will do them as cases, the rule, the violation, and the correction, and I want you to identify yours as we go, because at the end I am going to ask you which number you are. And I will tell you now that the 5th one is the engine underneath the other 4. The men in the pack who make it to the end of the list will be able to look back and see the same machine running in all of them. That is why the order is what it is. Case 1, the clarifying follow-up, you answered. Nobody responded. And the silence sat there for an hour and started to feel like a verdict. So you sent one more message. Just wanted to make sure that came across right, or to clarify what I meant earlier. And you felt better immediately, which should have been your first warning. Here is the violation. Nothing had gone wrong. There was no evidence that the first answer had been misread. You manufactured a problem out of a pause. Then you solved the problem you manufactured, and the other person, who had been in a meeting and had not thought about it once, received a message informing him that you had been worrying about it for an hour. That is what he actually learns, not what you meant. He learns that you monitor his reaction to you, and that his silence moves you, and a man whose silence moves you now owns a tool that costs him nothing to use. Warren ran a team of 9, and he was, by any measure anybody used, the most competent person on his floor. He also sent the follow-up. Every time something mattered, there would be the message, and then 40 minutes later, there would be the second message, the one that began with "just to be clear." Over about 4 years, the people who worked with him learned something they never said out loud, which was that Warren's positions were provisional until roughly an hour after he stated them. Nobody exploited that deliberately. They simply stopped treating his first message as the decision because experience had taught them it usually was not, and they waited for the second one before doing anything. He never understood why his instructions took so long to move. The correction is a rule about time, not about wording. When the urge to clarify arrives, you wait 1 hour before acting on it. Not because an hour makes the message better, because the urge does not survive an hour. It dies somewhere around the 40-minute mark, on its own, without any discipline required from you, and what is left afterwards is the accurate assessment, which is almost always that the first answer was fine. Once is the whole answer. Say that one out loud, one word before case 2. Have you sent the clarifying follow-up in the last month? Yes or no? That is the entire comment. I would guess 4 out of 5 of you, and I would like to be shown otherwise. Case 2, the softened repeat, and this is the most common one in the working world. They pushed back, not aggressively. They simply did not accept it, and there was a beat of friction. So you said the same thing again. More gently, you added a qualifier. You said, "What I mean is," or, obviously, if it were urgent then of course. The content did not change at all, only the temperature did. I call this the discount, because that is exactly what it is. The position stayed at the same price, and you knocked something off the terms, and both of you felt the transaction complete. Here is why it costs more than it looks. A softened repeat teaches the other person that friction works on you. Not argument, friction. He did not present a counter case. He simply declined to accept, and the decline alone produced a better offer. Which means the correct strategy for dealing with you, from this point forward, is not to think of a good reason, but to be mildly unhappy for a few seconds. That is an extremely low price, and everybody who has learned it is paying it constantly. The correction is uncomfortable, and it is 1 sentence long. When somebody pushes back, and you have nothing new to say, you say nothing new. You can repeat the same words flatly, without additions. That is allowed, and it is far stronger than it feels. Or you can simply be quiet and let the position stand, which is stronger still. What you must not do is issue a warmer version. Warmth is not the problem. Warmth in the first answer is good. Warmth added in the second answer is a discount. And a man who discounts once has published a policy. I do not discount case 3, and this is where I said you would resist, so here it is. They did not accept reason 1, so you gave reason 2. It feels like strength. You have more ammunition, so you use it, and you are, at that moment, doing the single most damaging thing available to you, because the number of reasons you give is inversely related to how much any of them are believed. Think about how you read other people. When a man declines something and gives you 1 reason, you believe the reason. When he declines and gives you 3, you do not believe any of them. You assume the real reason is a 4th one he has not mentioned, and you go looking for it. That is not a quirk. That is how everybody reads it, including you, and you do it automatically. So the second reason does not add support, it removes it. It converts a fact into a case, and a case is a thing that can be argued, and you invited the argument by making it. Now the objection. Because I know exactly what you are thinking. You are thinking that this only works if you have the standing to be believed, and that a man in your position cannot simply decline with 1 reason and expect it to hold. Somebody will demand more, sometimes, yes, and here is the answer to that. and it is not a trick. When somebody demands more, you do not supply reason too. You supply the same reason with nothing added, and you let the demand go unmet. The demand is not a right. It feels like one in the moment because refusing it is awkward. But awkwardness is the entire cost, and it is a one-time cost, and it buys a permanent change in how you are approached. One reason is enough. Give me a number. The last time you explained something twice. How long was the gap between the first answer and the second one? 10 minutes, 2 hours, overnight. Just the number and the unit, nothing else. I want to see the distribution, because I think the shorter gaps are the expensive ones, and I would like to know if the data agrees. Now stop for 20 seconds and do this properly, because the second half will not land otherwise. Bring up the last time you explained yourself twice. Not the worst time, the most recent one. Who was it? And then the harder question. What were you afraid they would think of you if you let the first answer stand on its own? Whatever came up is the thing that has been paying for all of this, and it is not the situation. It is that, and settle something, because men divide hard here, and I want the fight in the comments. Is a man who refuses to explain himself formidable, or is he just exhausting to work with? Half of you think the first. I have worked with the second, and I do not think it is a small problem. Pick a side, formidable or exhausting. Now the note, because it is time. In February 1862, a Union general had a Confederate fort surrounded in Tennessee. The man commanding inside that fort was named Simon Bolivar Buckner, and the man outside it was Ulysses Grant, and they were not strangers. They had been at West Point together. They had served in the same war in Mexico, and some years earlier, when Grant had failed at business and was stranded and broke in New York, Buckner had given him money to get home. So when the fort could no longer hold, Buckner did what officers did in that era. He sent out a note proposing the appointment of commissioners, an armistice, and negotiated terms of surrender. It was the normal procedure, it was courteous, and given the history between the two men, it was not an unreasonable thing to expect. Grant wrote back 3 sentences. No terms except unconditional and immediate surrender could be accepted, and he proposed to move immediately upon their works. That is the entire reply. No explanation of his reasoning, no acknowledgement of the debt between them, no softening clause, no expression of regret, no offer of a middle path. He did not say he was sorry it had to be this way. He did not explain that his orders required it, which he could have. He answered once, and he did not answer again. Buckner surrendered the fort and an entire army with it. Grant had been an unremarkable name a week earlier. He became known across the country by the initials that now happened to fit his answer, and the position that opened up behind that fort changed the shape of the whole campaign inside a month. But here is the part that matters more, and it is the part that stops this from being a video about coldness. After the surrender, in private, Grant went to Buckner and offered him his purse. He knew Buckner would be going into captivity with nothing, and he remembered the money in New York. So he settled the debt personally, out of sight of everybody, at the one moment when it could not possibly be read as a negotiating position. That is the whole law in one man, hard in the answer, warm in private, and never anything in between. He did not blend them. He did not soften the note in order to be kind, because a softened note would have cost his side an army and would not have helped Buckner at all. He gave the answer once, cold and complete, and then he gave the kindness separately, where it belonged, where it changed nothing about the terms. You can find this under Fort Donelson, February 1862, and I would far rather you check me than believe me. 2 cases left, and they are the ones almost nobody notices, which is why they are last. Case 4, and here you answer the objection before anybody has made it. You send the message, And inside the same message you write, "I know this might seem like a lot of notice, but," or, "You may be wondering why I did not raise this earlier, and the reason is." Nobody said either of those things. You said them on their behalf, in advance. You believe you are being thorough and preempting friction. What you have actually done is hand the other person a fully drafted objection, in your own words, with your own admission that it is a fair one. You built their argument, you conceded its strength, and you attached it to your own message. If they had not thought of it, they have now, and it arrived with your endorsement. This one is particularly expensive in writing, because writing is where men do their over-preparation. You reread the message, you imagine how it might land badly, and you insert a defense against the bad landing. Every one of those insertions is a piece of ammunition you manufactured and shipped. There is a second cost to this one that is easy to miss, and it shows up in how the other person now reads everything else you wrote. A message containing a preemptive defense tells the reader that somewhere in this request there is a weak point the sender already knows about, and he will go looking for it, even if he had no intention of looking for anything. Because you have just told him there is something to find. You did not diffuse the objection, you advertised its existence and then handed over the map. The correction is a single pass with a delete key. Before you send anything that matters, find every sentence that answers a question nobody has asked and remove it. Not soften it, remove it. The message gets shorter every time, and shorter has nothing to grip. And if the objection is real, it will arrive on its own, and then you can answer it once, in its own message, where it belongs. Case 5, the deepest one, and the one that runs underneath the other 4. You answer the silence. Nobody asked anything. There is simply a gap in a thread or a meeting or a room, and the gap has begun to feel like it means something about you. So you speak into it. Sometimes it is a clarification. Sometimes it is a joke. Sometimes it is a completely new topic, raised for no reason, other than that the quiet had gone on for 11 seconds. Here is the thing to hold on to. Silence is not a question. It has no content. The meaning you are hearing in it is not in the silence. It is in you, and you are answering yourself out loud in front of other people. And that is the honest description of every second answer in this video. The clarifying follow-up answers a silence. The softened repeat answers a facial expression. The added reason answers an imagined verdict. In every case, you responded to something the other person did not actually say. And you did it, because the not knowing was uncomfortable, and speaking made it stop. The correction here is not a technique, it is a tolerance, and it is built the same way any tolerance is built. You sit in a gap without filling it, and you notice that nothing happens, and you do it again. Start with 11 seconds in a meeting, that is the whole exercise. 11 seconds, once a week, until the gap stops sounding like a question. Silence is not a question. Name yours, 1 to 5, 1 digit, that is the whole comment. And you knew the answer before I finished the list. I will tell you now that I expect 1 and 2 to take most of it, and that the men typing 3 are the ones I would most like to hear from. Before the turn, the warning, because this video has an ugly version, and I have watched men build it. You can take all 5 of these and become a man who simply does not respond. Requests go unanswered, positions are stated once, and then defended with silence and a flat face. And it does produce a kind of authority, for a while, and then it produces something else, which is that people stop bringing you anything at all. The law is never explained twice. It is not never explain. The first answer is where all your generosity goes, and it should be genuinely generous. Give the reason, give the context, give it warmly and completely, and in language the other person can use. Then stop. A man who explains once, well, and never again, is easy to work with and impossible to move. A man who explains nothing is neither. He is just a wall with a job title, and walls get worked around, and the working around is invisible to the wall. Grant sent 3 sentences. He also, an hour later, gave the man his money. Do not take the first half of that and leave the second. Now the turn. And it goes somewhere you have not been looking. The whole way through this, you have been assuming the second answer is aimed at them. That you send it to make them understand, to correct a misreading, to get the outcome you want. It is not for them. It has never been for them. Look at the actual sequence, honestly, on any occasion you can remember. You feel discomfort, you send the second answer. The discomfort drops immediately, before any reply arrives, before you have any information at all about whether it worked. The relief comes from the sending. That tells you what it was. It was not communication. It was self-soothing, addressed to somebody else, and delivered at your own expense. You paid for your own relief with your standing in their eyes, and you paid within about 90 seconds. And you have been running that transaction for 20 years. Which is why the 1-hour rule works and why nothing else does. It is not a discipline technique. It simply outlasts the feeling that was doing the buying. And there is a second half, and it is harder. Some part of you has liked the second answer, because the second answer is the only place where you get to feel fair. Think about what it lets you believe on the drive home. That you were reasonable. That you were the one who was willing to explain, who took the time, who did not just issue an edict like the difficult people do. The second answer is where you buy your own good opinion of yourself. And it is a real purchase, and it feels good, and it is the most expensive thing you buy all week. But notice what you were actually being fair to, not the other person. They did not ask. You were being fair to an audience in your own head that was watching to see whether you would be reasonable. And that audience is not real. And it has been running your working life for 2 decades. You have been mistaking self-justification for generosity. Real generosity was Grant walking into that tent with his purse. It cost him something. It changed nothing about the terms. And nobody was watching. The second answer costs you your position and buys you a feeling, and everybody is watching. They are not the same act. They are opposites, and one of them is available to you tomorrow. So here is what changes, and it is one rule, and it is embarrassingly small. When the urge to send the second answer arrives, you wait 1 hour. That is it. You do not have to win a battle with yourself. You do not have to be a colder man. You do not have to develop anything. You wait, and the urge dies on its own. And if after an hour there is genuinely new information that the other person needs, you send it, and you will find that this happens perhaps 1 time in 10. Do that for a month, and something shifts that you will not be able to point to. People start arriving with their argument already made. Requests come to you more finished. The half-formed things go somewhere else, because pushing on you stopped producing free work, and nobody decided that consciously, and nobody will ever mention it. And you will notice that your first answers have quietly gotten better, without you working on them at all. Because a man who knows there is no second pass writes the first one properly. That is the part nobody tells you. The law does not just protect your position, it improves the work. My answer does not reopen. 6 lines. They are yours now, I say it once. Once is the whole answer. I do not discount. 1 reason is enough. Silence is not a question. My answer does not reopen. One of those is going to be hard for you specifically. Put that one below, with your case number beside it, and I read all of them. Subscribe if you want the rest of this. 2 more in this arc, built in order, and you are one of the pack now, whether you signed up for it or not. Next Thursday, saying it once is not the hard part. The hard part is the 72 hours afterwards, when the thing you declined comes back wearing a different shape, and comes back again, and the third time it arrives, it will not look like the same request at all. What you do in those 3 days decides whether the answer holds or quietly dissolves. That is episode 4 of the quiet version. Say it once more and mean it. I say it once. Somewhere, a man is drafting the message he should not send.